Arco 1964 here, a viewer found day of the Cheltenham Festival 2026 on Friday. Start here. I'll start with a very strange situation, the stewards report, in which Berto Amir was trained by AJ McNamara, entered the stables early on Tuesday. He had been entered the stables without being accompanied by either McNamara or a delegated representative, and McNamara was fined £290 for failing to appoint a delegated representative to ensure some present horse at all times, and also failing to inform the BHA who that representative was. It's a bit of an odd one, that. I have to say I've never heard that before at all, and I don't blame him for fining him there, and it almost argues that that's a fair fine. I was wondering if it might be a slightly higher fine. You have a duty to a horse, and I will come back to that about Fakenham later on. Also, there was an inquiry about interference with Maestro Conti, who finished second place right from Harry Skelton, sent to the very fourth by Paul Townsend, with Skelton suspended for 3 days for careless winding, allowing his mount to drift right when insufficiently clear, resulting in some of the very big town against the well, with Town having to switch his mount. A separate inquiry was held about interference with the final half furlong, including the winner, Apollon Deshani, ridden by Patrick Mullins' Miller Study, placed third, ridden by Mania, with Mullins suspended for 2 days of careless winding for allowing his mount to move right under left-hand drive for number strides without correction, taking Miller's Story off his intended line. He won the race by 11.5, so I think that's why it was only a ban and not any danger of a result being overturned. Meanwhile, Protectoreth, the favourite, who was well beaten in 9th place, which is very interesting. BHA actually reported actually wrong here, and he says he was pulled up, which, hang on, no, he says he was 9th, so something's wrong, and I assume it's BHA made a mistake there. With no representative, William Mullins could not offer no explanation for Gelding's performance, and the vet couldn't find anything wrong with him either. So again, an inexperienced Mullins horse wins the race. Probably also won 100 to 1 as a debutant last season. I remember back in Conditional, always trying to never pronounce the horse correctly, who had come second Ormond Mare's Novice Hurdle, and I had money on it, and I think, why is Mullins running a debutant? And she lost by literally, I think, a nose or a short head, and it was very annoying, because you would have got a bit of money if she'd won, and then the next year she won easily the same race. So brought in rules are you can to stop Mullins doing this sort of thing. So all he's gone and done is found a horse who ran quite well beaten in a race in France. Actually, his horse came second to Protectoreth, in fact, in France, or only a second run as a maiden. As a few have won this as maidens, where Holiday in 1990, I think Timothy Weld maybe, and of course Mullins last year, and with another one, and I'll have to just check who that was. Farclas, I'm just remembering as I look it up, who it was. It was Farclas back in 2018. I don't remember well. I don't know why I remembered he joined Rare Holiday, but I was right about that. So it was a decent performance. What will happen in future, I'm not sure. I quite like the third winter of the race. I think it's made better horses win the Triumph Hurdle. You're looking at Ponderous, who was better horses, the experience has been decent horses. But look at Marble, Lossimal, Vorburn, Quick's Loss. Well, recent horses have been substantially better horses, maybe than some of the ones before 2005 winning the race. Country Hurdle, Wilford winning the race. There's a few, I have to admit, I think it was maybe racers commentating with a few dodgy puns about stick to the plan, and Sinatra doing it his way as they came in, the one in. Carbu 4-1 favourite, winning okay in 6th place. My bet's going to have nowhere here really this time. Well, I had Being the Blue as one of my 7, and that's it's small priced horse. But Wilford winning for O'Neill, John Joe O'Neill Jr. winning it, and John Joe and AJ O'Neill training it. Came in winning the Premier Handicap at the December last year. I remember going to been to that race one a few times. A major race, the Dead Heat. Ergo Cup was one of that race where I can't quite remember now who it was. It was involved in a dead heat, but I remember that's one rare times I've seen a dead heat in a major race was there. A couple of things about Jubilee Alpha and the stewards there. They said the horse had pulled up, could be briefly short of room in a packing field, but besides there was no winding offence involved, and the vet stating that horse being pulled up actually bled from the nose. We move on to Mare's Chase, which I'm not greatly keen on actually existing. I'm not exactly sure what it really achieves. Deanna Blue always seems to be travelling well, winning the race there. Not much more I can greatly say. She's been in good form the last 12 months. winning when you're back at this race at Naas, then winning this mare's race last year, for winning a Punchdown, for winning the Glencarrig Lady race at Punchdown, then second at Navan for Go On Chez before winning an Irish EBF Grade 3 at Fakenham New Year's Day, and then winning again a Upper Hat race this year. So a consistent record at the festival, after being quite well beaten in the Dorman Mares Novice Hurdle back in 2022. She had a consistent record at the festival, coming second in Grand Annual 2023, and then second in this race 2024 before, as I was saying, winning the last 2 years. Abla Bartlett, known as Spy Hurdle, Johnny's Jury winning on well to win the race there. In not surprising news, Paul Townsend saying the favourite Dr. Steenberg 1, 2, 3, what seemed to be the case during the race, and the commentators saying it looked pretty obvious that's exactly what happened there. Johnny's Jury got quite heavily in trip, as that's his second season novice. Not a total surprise if something happens. You'd be Ben Bingham with 2 mile 4, 5 novice hurdle. He's a Turner, I don't know who sponsors it these days. That's something won by second season hurdles, and I'm pretty sure this race has been as well. When he ran 1 to 4 slash, came third over 2.5 miles before then winning a 2.5 furlong novice at Exeter, and then winning Carlisle over slightly longer, both winning very easily, and then comes through to win this, going massively up in trip, to be fair. So again, see what happens with a whole very lightly raced. We want to Cheltenham Gold Cup. Gallic Warrior winning this brilliantly. I forgot Alec was actually German bred horse. They always used to have a decent record. Not many runners, Seabold and Well Chief. This is of course back in the early 2000s, had a decent record. I'll tell you, as German bred, I don't think I remember too many others really. Don Crossick also another German bred horse. But it's interesting, winning very easily indeed the race. The first horse since Alverton, 1978-1979 in the Arkle and Cheltenham Gold Cup. It's an interesting one since, of our chances. Best Mate was actually even money for the Arkle in 2001 until it was a Cheltenham Festival was banned because the foot and mouth, of course, won the Gold Cup 3 years in a row after that. Kicking King was second, and then Sizing John both were second in the Arkle, winning the Gold Cup the next year, and War Attrition was actually unplaced but was favoured in the Arkle before winning the Gold Cup the next year. Race was rating 182. I did a video, I'll link here actually, of rolling top 60 Racing Post ratings from the day 1989 until, day 4, last year. The only change here with actually Gold Cup is Alec Warrior ties for 7th, and Django Bay and No Way Thinking are tying with bottom 55, equal number of other horses basically, as over 60 on the list because of the number of them on 174 tie. A couple of favourites, Hazy Calor, Sean Burns, same horses never travelling at all. It seemed to be starting a little bit of a start, and it was flat as a pancake basically. And the Jukebox Man, their Pauling Sable Gelding made a respiratory noise, was trying quite well and then just stopped very quickly, so maybe still might have chances next year. It depends if a horse has breathing problems. We'll have to see what will come forward next year. Certainly good chances in next year's King George still. We'll see whether he wins again, maybe later on in the year, maybe it's Aintree. An interesting saying with Gallic Warrior winning the Arkle 2 years ago, Younger winning the Arkle last year, come second, so that's another. So the Arkle winner's doing very well here, and he was very thinking he's one of a great race horse. He had a shocking form, I think I may have said in my preview. Race for Waiting sent him the highest rating. I couldn't understand it in my video. I actually said I don't know why I'm backing him, because I did, basically based on Waiting's ratings. He's done well in coming in 3rd place though. But he's a worse form, I think, since Midnight Court in 78 as a defending Gold Cup winner. He's done well enough. Great Dawning ran well enough for 4th. Well beaten though. Long Press and put some money on, stayed on late, but through beaten horses really. Firefox never involved. Go Treat ran okay. And the tragedy of course Envoi Allen. I read a few comments here. There's nothing wrong winning a 12-year-old in the Gold Cup at all. You're going back years, back a long time ago now, I have to say. What Myth won as a 12-year-old in 69, that's of course a long time ago now. But even so, you had Seymour Business 3rd in 2002, you had Court Star 2nd favourite was pulled up in 2012, Desi was 3rd in 1991 as I think he was 2nd favourite certainly. Excelsior was favourite and I think Desi was 2nd favourite. And it wasn't an overly raced horse. I think it's just that these things happen, and it's not necessarily creative a horse. It just can be. Horses who die of heart attacks, say. Younger horses can happen at any age of a horse, really. It's maybe just the athletic stress, maybe just being involved in running. I think it's not necessarily even racing. I think a problem you can see a problem here. The Open Hunters Chase used to be old Fox Hunters. Barton Snow winning, but it's on the line second yet again. 4 years in a row now before it's come second, and after the first year when it was about 11.5, just over 11.5, it's been basically a neck 3 times in a row. It's absolutely astonishing here. Again, I mentioned this before. I just thought why some of we BHA asking certain horses who are heavy outsiders why there's a steward's report. For example, Amber Jackson Fennel riding Poor Marvel was talked to the stewards and they said was never travelling. Well, he reported, maybe, I assume that she didn't go to them and say this. I don't know why she would have done, so maybe stewards approached her, but why would nature one horse? Why do you need to know this? And it's no third time now, I think. We've had a strange situation where she was asking about rather heavy wank outsider. Barton Snow, though, has now won 5 races in a row under rules. Well, not under this sort of trip, starting off with just over a year ago at a Stratford novice, before moving on to an open 100 chase at Cheltenham, and then a novice again at Stratford, and then a 100 chase last month at Ludlow, and then winning this race, so obviously in very good form. Slightly more minor level, but of course 100 chases, not many, but the Stratford final of this race in Aintree, there's not that many major 100 chases anyway. It's interesting, also had 10 national flat races back in the past, with a second, a third and 8 unplaced, and suddenly Stratford's point to point, then went national, also had a win, then went back to national flat racing, and a one against Waterville Whispers, who was of course winning this year. At Galway, he was beaten there, then came back and then had a started signing some form again at 100 Chasers. And the last race of the festival, at Retirement winning the Martin Pipe Conditional Jockeys Handicap Hurdle. Another race I'm not sure really needs to exist particularly. There's a massively long steward's report for this race. Remember the jockeys basically not following instructions. MP O'Connor, PM O'Brien, Staples, Stone Walsh, Kennelly, Gordon, Kirk, Smith, McGuinness, Moore, Shillick and Dwyer will spend 1 day failing to comply with instructions. Peter Williamson will spend for 2 days for failing to do so. Now, I'm a bit lost by this, because surely Stone Walsh was already suspended. On Tuesday, I've been pretty sure already had a suspension before winning one day afterwards. Now, right, I finally got to the bottom of this. It's a different type of suspension, because a 2-day suspension for careless riding, and now you've got a 1-day suspension for not following instructions. It's not. I mean, he's a successful winner, but it's not good to have 2 suspensions during the same festival. It's rather, I wonder if it's unique having 2 suspensions and a winning wide. And oh my lord, it's even longer. I thought it was quite long. It's almost like it's the same length as every other race. This added together. That was interference with the winner, O'Brien, Sandra Ford, who subsequently fell with him by Niall Moore. Plus Callum Pritchard's one of Thirsty Proud, and Conditional Walsh again, riding far from nowhere. O'Brien was suspended for 2 days for careless riding. Cloudatourless and Eastern Express got maybe in each other, slightly in each other's way. Well, certainly not Canada Tour hampering Eastern Express, but we found out there was no winding fence involved. And then another one, Wenrock, placed with by Carl Miller, and Charles, and placed with Harry Atkins. We have one with Wenrock interfering with Charles, and Carl Miller winding Wenrock, being given 2 days ban for careless winding. Then there's another one here, with after final offence with Jump My Line, placed in third, ridden by Anna McGuinness, Actor Authority, placed fifth ridden by Lewis Stewart in the open secret, placed ridden by James Smith. Saunders suspended to 3 days for careless winding, causing problems for the other 2. And another one, with first in second, ridden by Joe Anderson, the winner, Active in Taunton, ridden by PM O'Brien. And Anderson was suspended for 2 days of careless winding, with taking out and attempting off his intended line. And with a second possible bit of infield, so seemed to be accidental. And Charles, who was unplaced, Harry Atkins saying he 1, 2, 3. Dear me, that is a long steward's report, and I have to say, it's not. With conditional jockeys, it's a bit unimpressive, really. I have to say, too many horses, maybe a race. I don't know. I think it's a really concerning with so many conditional jockeys getting each other's way, and maybe as an argument, this race should not be missed at the festival at all. So now come to final issue as on the race. Riding with Charlie Marshall on Go On Chez. I was sort of paying attention to a Fakenham race, but not totally. I was just looking at my phone a little bit, just about races at Cheltenham. And it says I was sat in a ball sports shop in Middlesbrough. I think I said in my preview I'd actually got a ticket to see Ward Gilbert. Was a brilliant gig, actually, talking about his recovery from cancer, really inspiring and a funny gig, and he can be funny about cancer. It's amazing. He succeeded in doing that, and it should be seen on October. It had a bit of flu, so it we arranged for yesterday evening in Middlesbrough. So I decided to go to Middlesbrough to watch the racing. Wasn't sure I could get from Newcastle in time. After racing at Middlesbrough, I wasn't sure maybe train might be cancelled. So I just watched the racing in Middlesbrough. So I was sort of watching it and catching the Fakenham race a little bit. And then I heard the commentator saying, "Oh Lord, the leaders just basically refused effectively second last, not the jockey off in effect." Having Just may have bumped the horse as well accidentally. And then as they're going on with bed, really annoyingly ball spots, the video went off. The audio was still on. The video went off. So I never actually saw the video. I heard he only just got to the final fence. And I saw on social media some concerns about what had happened. But I wanted to see the race, and I had to go back to Newcastle not too long ago to see it. And it's really concerning. I mean, I thought, just after all horses falling, you give a horse one backhander, okay, I can understand that maybe just to make sure it tries to go on. But then he does it again to another one, maybe two, and it just starts to get, no, hang on, this isn't good. This is not good. And he, of course, hardly gets to the final fence. And, dear, I'm sorry. It looks like 12 days maybe maximum ban you can give for this sort of offence. I'm not sure. Maybe it is. And it's an amateur. The problem is, I remember Samuel Cohen got banned. I think we're going the wrong way. It's Fakenham, I believe. I just remember, I think it was also Fakenham. If it's wrong, I'll just alter this. But I think it was Fakenham. And the problem came, well, he actually is an amateur. He's not going to ride that much anyway. And the same thing with Charlie Marshall. He's an amateur. So really, and the plan's not going to affect him. The same we talked about Samuel Cohen, getting a 12 or 15 or something like the day ban ran the wrong course. I mean, and I said, he's only going to ride the horse anyway. Now, Charlie Matthews, a £5 claimer. Besides, he's had 10 runs in the last 6 years. So I mean, including 3 ones this year, including this win today, and so he's only going to ride horses anyway, I think. But the whole thing was unedifying. Racing TV correspondent who also talked to after the race as well. Straight after the race, that's where I saw the Racing TV website. He was unimpressed. He felt it was unedifying, and afterwards said he didn't like what happened at all. A whole list of views against Charlie Marshall's riding. I asked some people to say, well, basically you should get the horse home, and being a bit stupid and saying, it's just his job to get a horse basically there, and if you want back the horse, you would want it to finish. I looked at the Envoi Allen situation, and I thought, that's not the scandal. This is. I'm not blaming the jockey on Envoi Allen at all. I am certainly blaming Charlie Marshall. But he's only got knee winds anyway. But I think if I owned that horse, I would not want him winding it again.